How do you ace an HR executive interview and ensure you get the job? Hey there, my name is Josh. I'm the founder of HR University. And this lesson, we're going to go over many of the common interview questions that you'll get applying for an HR executive position. Now, before we go over those questions and answers, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and that way you don't miss any of our lessons on how to become a great HR professional. Now let's start. So before we move to the interview questions, we need to set a foundation. And that means mentioning the strengths of the HR executive role. And that way you'll know what to emphasize about yourself as you answer the interview questions. And the 8 core strengths are formal authority, leadership, empathy, integrity, strategic thinking, social responsibility, team building, and work environment handling. The HR executive oversees the HR team, and that acts as a bridge between the employees and the employer. So if you get a question about team management, emphasize your leadership and authority skills and back it up with team management examples. Or if you get a question about solving employee conflicts, focus on your ability to listen to both parties and handle the work environment. Now let's move to the questions. And we'll start with questions related to leadership. Every HR executive needs strong leadership skills. And when answering leadership questions, be confident and don't let the interviewer discourage you. And here are some of the questions to expect regarding leadership skills. What is your management leadership style? How do you deal with conflict inside your team? When a recruiter asks about your management or leadership style, they don't want to know the specifics. Instead of knowing the ins and outs of your style, they want to know the results of your management or leadership. So whatever the style is, it's a trick question where you can spend very precious minutes describing the style and end up with an underwhelming thanks for a reply. And if you get this question, instead describe the style in a sentence or two and use a rest for talking about the results. An example of an adequate answer can be, I prefer proactive leadership where I do my best to prevent issues from happening. There were several times when I managed recruitment for companies, and often the HR would start the recruitment process without adequate preparation. So I instructed them to spend an additional day or two preparing tracking sheets and similar tools. And that way we saved time and money and found excellent talent. Next, we have how do you deal with conflict inside your team? Conflicts happen in any organization. And as an HR executive, you must know how to mitigate such conflicts. And again, focus on results rather than technicalities. Describe the situation, how you resolve the dispute, and the results. And your answer can go something like this. 2 team members with lower salaries felt they deserved the same compensation as their coworkers. To resolve the conflict, I organized a team meeting where I explained why some team members have a higher salary. I also explained scenarios in which lower salary employees can get a raise. And finally, I promised a 1.5% salary increase if the project was done on time. And after the meeting, I returned the team to the previous working tempo, and we finished the project before the deadline. Next, we have situational questions. Assessing a situation is mandatory for an HR executive as a job revolves around people's skills and interactions. And here are the most frequent questions. Have you ever fired an employee? How did you do it? How do you create a productive work environment? And these are all common situational questions. Employees come and go, and you must ensure the process is as painless for the company as possible. Besides providing an example, the interviewer probably wants to know if you gathered helpful information from terminating an employee as well, because that's going to help with future recruitment and termination processes. Here's an example answer. I handled many termination processes, and whenever we had to fire or let someone go, I ensured that the team had an appropriate talk with the employee. We also had a set of questions we'd ask the employee to help us understand why the situation happened in the first place. And based on the gathered data, we created several strategies to prevent such cases from happening in the future. And as an HR executive, you have managers to handle teams, but you're the one who creates the working environment and ensures that employees perform at their best. Imagine it like preparing the chessboard before players draw their moves. Without you, the game can't start. This question is straightforward and doesn't have any quote-unquote traps. The interviewer wants to know precisely what they ask and how do you create a productive environment. If you're applying for the executive job, you have experience, so describe your process. And for bonus points here, ask about the company's current process and give your thoughts. Just don't criticize their current flow. Instead, provide friendly insight and how it can be better. The larger the company, the more data the HR team must handle. And like maintaining a quality work environment, you won't gather the data, but you must ensure that the HR team handles employee data. And to answer the question, talk about 2 things. First, talk about the tools you use to manage data and how you get the HR team on board to use the solution. And that can include training sessions and group meetings. And second, describe the process of overseeing data gathering. You'll probably have a manager to help you, so talk about how you work with managers to ensure that team managers, such as HR specialists and generalists, gather and handle data. An HR executive oversees the entire HR department, so the interviewer wants to know if you can handle employee management, onboarding, recruiting, salaries, benefits, and teams that do the work. But what's more important at a specific moment? Getting new talent as soon as possible, or updating benefits to keep current employees happy? You need to know how to prioritize, since you're the one who's greenlighting the next step. And when answering this question, talk about your previous experience. So for example, the first thing I check is the current organization's goals. I usually discuss with managers to understand what the company needs, and if there's an important project that requires new talent to finish on time, I'll prioritize recruiting. If the overall productivity is suffering, I'll focus on improving the work environment. And to conclude here, you want to leave an impression of someone who will prioritize tasks that benefit the company the most. And there we have it. We just covered a number of common HR executive interview questions. And if you feel like you have a better understanding of how to go into an HR executive interview and make sure that you can answer these questions on point, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and that way you can keep up to date with all of our lessons on how to become a great HR professional. And again, my name is Josh. I'm the founder of HR University, and I'll go ahead and see you on some of our following lessons. Cheers.